What was that? Depressing week for Queensland. We're here for the Sunday mindset session. I know it's been depressing up in Queensland with a bit of rain and obviously the Maroons losing, but we are here for the Sunday mindset session to talk all things about our minds on a Sunday morning. Tony, how you doing?
Look, I'm doing great. Running a little bit late, caught up playing with my little puppy, and time got away from me. But mate, I'm delighted that I'm here. Yes, it's been a tough old week. Well done to New South Wales last Sunday. Queensland were woeful, but game 3, we're going to come back. We're going to bounce back. Look out. But no, we've had plenty of rain here this week, but it's great now today. We've got sunshine, and we're also out of lockdown as well. So I don't know if I'm supposed to be wearing a mask. I've got it in my pocket, but we're out of lockdown, which is a great thing.
Oh, you are out of lockdown now? Is that official?
We're officially last night out of lockdown as of 6 o'clock, but I do believe that you've still got to wear your mask whenever you're indoors. If you're outside, I'm not sure, but anyway, I've got it here just in case. So
just in case Anastasia comes in.
Well, because she's been wanting to come on this show for a long time, Luke. I mean, it's well known up here north of the border, as you know. So Anastasia, if you're waking up this morning, good morning to you, and I've got my mask with me.
We got Kelly and Sean have already come on, and a few others that have joined on this Sunday mindset session. We are here to talk about the topic of today, which is what type of thinker are you?
Great.
An interesting one. Just something that sprung to mind for me is what type of thinker that we are for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What type of thinker we are in good times, in bad times, in times where there's an elevated level of excitement, where there is a tough situation, like a death, like, things can go wrong with your job, with lifestyle, with social aspects. And I guess I think it's an important one for us. And that comes to me, it takes me to the first item, really is, do you understand who you actually are, Tony? So on a broad space, let's think about the thinker.
Yeah, so firstly, where did this come from, mate, this particular topic? I love it, by the way, but where has something come up for you this week, or you've just had a thought?
I was just assessing the thinking side of things and how we are. It's just something that sprang to mind of what type of thinker we are. Are we a deep thinker? Are we one of thinking and seeking clarity? Are we someone who really strains when we think? Are we more of a feeler than a thinker? Are we overthinking? We've talked about some of these topics a couple of times, but I think it was just a deep dive on the thinking process.
Gotcha.
How are we analysing ourselves as a thinker?
Gotcha. So what was the first question again? Is that the question? How are we analysing ourselves as a thinker? Sorry, mate.
Well, the broad topic is what type of thinker are you, Tony?
I'm a deep thinker, particularly for big decisions. I'm a deep thinker. I've been going through some directional thought of late, and spent a lot of time just putting it out there to the world, challenging myself, etc. I'm getting more clarity, which is great. And I gave myself the objective of, come the start of the new financial year to get that clarity. So no, I'm a very deep thinker. Look, obviously, if there's some more superficial things going on, well, I'm not that deep of thought around those, but majority of my thinking is very deep.
I guess we're all so different, Tony, and it's not for us to give advice to other people about how they should be thinking or what they should be doing. It's analysing for ourselves and understanding for ourselves what we can do at certain situations.
Oh, no, I don't agree. I think there's an opportunity for us to provide advice. That's what we've done for the last 105 or 6 episodes, and that's what I do as a day job.
I guess what I was saying about the advice of more about understanding who we are.
Yes, 100%. So that is
time about understanding who we are. Not saying that you should be like Tony or you should be like Luke.
Perfect.
Or different things. So just to clarify your
gotcha.
And I know that we think differently at different times, Tony, and we analyse things differently, and that's okay. And we can agree to disagree in certain situations. Obviously, you're north of the border, I'm south of the border, and that's something we disagree on.
I don't know. We agreed last year, mate. I mean, you're up here for 6 months, so you gave it a fair go. But yeah, no, look, absolutely, Luke. And I think the two words there is awareness. They're the two words, and that's effectively what we're trying to say, is that be yourself, be true to yourself, but understand yourself. And that's where the whole thoughts comes in, is that a lot of people don't take the time to understand who they truly are. We're we're distracted by TV, social media, anything but sitting with our thoughts. And we talk about this so often, about the power of, sitting with our thoughts, and the power of, I've talked about, doing the retreat many years ago and sitting on a square of carpet in the middle of the rainforest. That's just about sitting with thoughts. The reality is the majority of people choose not to do that, and they're worried. They're worried that, oh my gosh, if I start to, what will come up for me? What will be some of the scary things that come up for me? And, it's far easier if I just ignore that and look at my phone or focus on the telly.
Yeah, I guess, it's that reflection that we talk about, and understanding we talk about for ourselves, to have that awareness about who we are and what we're all about. Tony Gallagher, good morning to you too. He's just said, good morning, boys. Sean said, to get decent clarity requires thought from the directions on an idea. To get ultimate clarity sometimes requires no thought, just a feeling through meditation. Well, someone's getting a little bit deep this morning, Sean.
Oh, but that's what it's about. It's about, again, recognising what's going to work for you and just putting things out there. I like to sit with things, big decisions, sit with them, consider different permutations. But at the end of the day as well, there's also a point where you can overthink. You can overthink something. And so there's a line there that's like, well, at this point in time now, my thinking needs to turn into actions, whereas some people, when they do this, they may actually choose to overthink, and there's perfectionistic thinking where they won't take a step forward because they need every single thing to be lined up perfectly before they take a step. And so that's, there's people who are out there like that. And again, that's self-awareness and recognizing that if that's you, then there's no such thing as perfect, right? And so
it's for us to, how do you become better as a thinker? So there's two areas that you may want to consider. Is, are you escaping from your thought process and distracting yourself through TV, through social media, through escapism? So getting out with friends and family members and then just going into a different and not acknowledging what's really going on? Or are you someone who's just really sitting in it, dwelling on it, bringing yourself down, depressive state, anxiety that comes around that, and getting into a worse off situation? And like Tony said, you're not taking action on some of that thought process of what you should be doing.
Yeah, neither one of those examples is self-awareness, so that does require to get to know yourself, to get to know yourself, to get to know your strengths, to get to know your weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. Don't kid yourself if you think you don't. We all do. And it's about getting to know what are the things that you are good at, you're strong at, and what are the things that that you're not so good at. And that's okay. And then the decision is, well, what do you do with that? But ultimately it starts with taking the time to getting to know you, and we go back to, those two daily questions that I ask myself, that I get you guys and girls to ask of yourselves, which is, what went well today and what could I do different? Just those two questions alone starts to then get you thinking about, well, what happened in the day for me, rather than just going through the day, coming home, feeling exhausted, taking the lid off a stubby. It's like, well, take the time to think about what were the great things today, and what were the things that you'd like to be going different tomorrow.
Yeah, it's actually just it's interesting to hear some people say actually about things like, what was the best thing for you today? And actually, just if you're doing that daily practice of some of these things, like you say, Tony, those two things, or just even keeping it at one simple thing, it's just going to put a strong practice towards doing things a little bit better for you. Having that practice in the good times, and then when the bad times do come up, that you're in train with that. It's kind of like the sporting field, in pressure situations, if you practice, then you're going to be better for that situation where the pressure does come on. So that's going to be a big one for us to really analyze, have that practice for that position, that when things are tough, you'll be able to play through that in a better way.
Yeah, and then that's the same applies to plenty of work situations. Same applies to, I don't know, Navy SEALs, armed forces, whatever, they practice, but it's not just practice, it's perfect practice makes perfect, and so it's a case of, constantly practicing, putting yourself into those situations where you're building a muscle, putting yourself into a stressful situation and sitting with that and dealing with that and working your way out of it, and that's where exercise is wonderful, right? Because you can, you put yourself under stress, you put your body under stress, you put your mind under stress. And how often do you then, if you push yourself just that little bit further, one extra minute or another 100 meters or whatever it might be, and over time you go, oh my gosh, look at how far I've actually gone.
Yes, I resonate with that one, Tony. As you know,
of course you do.
Running
right?
every day.
One extra day, right? But it's a good example where people can put themselves under stress, and constantly challenge yourself, because your mind gives up far sooner than your body does. And so,
Tony, just to get in a little bit deeply for the audience that are coming on now, and there's a couple of comments that have come on. Nigel, good to see you on. What type of thinker are you is a question of today. Love to hear people, maybe share a little bit about them in terms of what type of thinker they think they are. Because if we refer to ourselves, Tony, and just to get a little bit of vulnerability around what's going on, so, perhaps other people can share, what type of thinker, Tony, are you?
I'm a deep thinker. I just said it, and I just, going through a whole process at the moment where, from a business directional point of view, really sitting with things. And this has been the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks for me. And so this is a real life thing that's been going on. I was delighted when I saw the email come through about the topic, because I thought it's really quite timely for me, given, what's going on, and sitting with things and challenging myself on, the direction of my business.
So how does that work for you, Tony? If you think about in terms of the thinking process that you've gone through, is it a struggle? Are you dwelling too much? Are you, maybe not taking that action? Are you really taking that action and maybe not sitting with it a little bit?
Sure. So I was really struggling with clarity, so that was the thing for me. And so what do? I give myself space, I give myself time. Make sure that during my day, I shut my phone off, I shut down the emails. I do it consistently, so then that way I can't get annoyed by phone calls. I can't get annoyed by emails. Those things that, quite often people will be in the groove and then the phone will ring and that'll distract or upset their momentum. The ding will come on with an email. And if you've got the ding on the email, I'm sure there's a more technical term, my advice is turn it off. But when I want time for thinking, for strategic thought, then I will shut down every single distraction around me and give myself the space. And early on during that process, it's very clunky, and so it's a case of write stuff down. I find that if I scribe things down and then from there, different thoughts come up, and now I can just see on paper, although I use an iPad, but see in front of me different directions and different opportunities and different, things that I hadn't originally considered, because I just keep data dumping things down, and then from there I can take a 60,000 foot view and sort of look down and go, well, what is working for me, and still sit with that process. So this process.
Okay, so Tony, did you have a revelation?
Yeah, 100%. I've had a revelation. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So,
tell us.
Well, the revelation is that we're going to do a lot more in the franchising space. So, we've got a lot of clients in the franchise space, and fortuitously, it's worked out that way. And so that's a direction that we're really going to go after, given now the new financial year, is really tap into that franchise space, franchise businesses, franchise training, a whole range of programs around that. So that's been quite exciting. It's an exciting process for me, because that certainly wasn't where I thought it would end when I started about a month ago.
And I guess you've been pivoting over the last couple of years into different spaces, Tony, from, knowing you a little bit better than maybe some of the audience members there. So there's been a bit of a mix of here and there in terms of the coaching space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got 2 key clients. I've got property clients and I've got small business clients. And, one of the challenges with having lots of clients is that you've got 2 different messages, and, the core message might be the same, but then you've still got to do double things. So, it's just a case of, still, grateful for all the clients we've got, but it's also about moving forward. What is the direction that we want to take ourselves in? And so, we're going to give this a go. We're going to try it. Does it mean it's going to be right? who knows, but I suppose I have the courage to try something, give it a go. And also, I'm very comfortable that if something doesn't work out, then I'm okay with that, because I'd much rather have a go at something, try it, and it not work, as opposed to, not try and sit there and, hypothesize, will it or won't it work? So it's
test
about
and try, test and try,
100%.
test and try.
Well, it's the whole thing with being an entrepreneur, is that you're not always going to get it right the first time. Thomas Edison with the light bulb, 1,999 goes at it, and thousandth he got it, or whether that's accurate or not. I mean, the point is that any entrepreneur will tell you that you don't get it right the first time, and it's a constant refinement, a constant, But as long as you've got your vision, your mission, etc., and if it takes you slightly different directions to get there, who knows? And if you have to go back on something that you said, well, it is what it is, because times are changing, and so there's things that we do today in 2021 that we didn't do in 2010, for example, and so it's a case of constantly adapting and recognizing that the world is moving very quickly.
Yeah, look at some of the social media platforms that have come out in the last 5 years. So it's incredible what the changes that are being made. We've got Mum who's come on. Kelly says sometimes overthinking can paralyze you. Definitely can. So you've got to be mindful about that. Have self-awareness around if you are an overthinker, which we've been talking about. Sean says the more depressing the thought gets, the more action required to slow them down and turn them around. It's the only thing I've found effective for this. Sounds like a bit of a dance.
Well, what you think about expands, so if you've got depressing thoughts, negative thoughts, etc., the more that you think about these things, the more that you think about something, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it works on the positive and on the negative. But sadly for us, we tend to think about the negative, we tend to dwell on something, and we create, mountains out of molehills. People would have heard that saying, where something that's quite a small thing relative to what's going on, but we make it this massive thing because we constantly think about it and blow it out in our mind. Here's the great thing. If you're doing that from a negative standpoint, you can actually do it from a positive standpoint. So find something positive, think about that, think about that, think about that, and guess what? Watch that expand as well. And I can tell you, it's a whole lot more pleasurable thinking about something positive and watching it expand.
Sean reckons he took the 12th time to get it right for him. So, it is a test and try constantly for ourselves. We are testing and trying, and this is what we're talking about today, about your thinking process. How explore the thoughts for ourselves when we're growing up as kids, as teenagers, as young adults is very different how we're exploring these as, people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, into 70s, maybe some of our audience members that are coming on today to explore. So we're always testing and trying, doesn't matter what age we are at. And I guess we're testing and trying our thinking process today. And that's what we're all about. I think the first point where we come up with, Tony, was, are you really understanding yourself when things go right and when things go wrong, and having that self-awareness?
Oh, no, I don't think people are. I don't people have self-awareness. Again, I don't think they want to sit with those thoughts, and because they're fearful of what might come up for them. And so it's a case of take the time to get to know yourself, get to know what's great about yourself, get to know what are some of the shortcomings, some of the things that you need to work on. I think it's a wonderful thing. Now, you don't need to go and work on them if you choose not to. It's up to you, right? But at least if you're aware of it, then you now have a choice. And so take the time. All this stuff is about give yourself the time, shut down the distractions. Like I'm in the middle of a park at the moment. Come to a park. You don't have to go to the rainforest or the beach. Go to your local park, or even sit in your backyard, sit on your front deck. It doesn't matter, but just give yourself the space, shut down the distractions and sit with the thoughts. My advice is then write stuff down. It's very difficult just to solve, I find anyway, it's difficult for me just to solve things in my head, but when I write them down, now different things come up for me. And oh my gosh, where'd that thought come from? Let's just explore that for a bit, see where that goes. I find it incredibly powerful in writing. We tend to type and use our thumbs to text and, type things up, whereas there's a real power in grabbing a pen or a pencil, or in my case, an iPad pencil, same thing, and just write stuff down. It's very therapeutic.
I love how your hands go everywhere, Tony. It's always a good thing.
Yes, I know. I almost choked myself then too with the.
Hey, how much self-awareness do you have with your hands?
None.
Okay, maybe that should be a topic for another day. How can Tony get some self-awareness around his hands?